But let me back up before the request. In Mark 10, it says, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him saying, Teacher, we want you to do whatever we ask. How many of you all, like me, already know what this question is going to be? That Jesus already knows what the question is going to be? Do any of you believe that Jesus is surprised by the question that comes next? Because I don't think he's surprised. I know he absolutely knows. And how do I know? Because there are other examples biblically when the Bible talks about when he's doing things, he knows the thoughts of the people, mainly the people who are going to be critical of him, and he will answer them, or he will make a statement that speaks to the mindset of the people around them before they even open their mouths. And so he's not surprised by the question that they are going to ask him, but he responds, what do you want me to do? He already knows what's coming next. And think about this. Knowing what's coming next, he permits the question to be asked. They say to him, grant us that we may sit on your right hand and the other on your left hand. And he said to them, you have no idea what you are asking of me. And then he poses a question. He says, are you willing to drink the cup that I am about to drink? Are you able to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? What? Think about this. They're asking to sit on his left and right hand, and then he asks them, he invites them to the ultimate sacrifice. If that's what you desire, then you have to be willing to give everything. It becomes the crux of the lesson of leadership, that if you're going to lead like Jesus, then you have to be willing to serve like Jesus. You gotta be willing to give of yourself. You've gotta be willing to serve at the highest levels. You do not know what you're asking, is what he says. And then he invites them to the ultimate levels of sacrifice. They say to him that we are able to do it. I believe if Jesus, being the ultimate teacher that he is, on the one hand, you can look at this and say, this is a pretty arrogant response from James and John. But I will also tell you that people who succeed at the highest level have a level of self-confidence based on the victories after victories after victories that they encounter. Now, those victories are also littered with failures, but they have a way of turning those failures into lessons. My losses are lessons. The people who succeed at the highest level don't allow the losses to stifle them. They treat the losses like lessons. So they come to him with this level of confidence that says, based on the teachings, the things that you've shown us, the way that you've taught us how to model our lives after you, we believe we can do it. We believe we can do it. He says to them, you say you can do it, and you absolutely will. He says, you will indeed drink from this cup. I believe he said, I'm glad you believe you can do it, because you absolutely will. You will drink from this cup, and you will be baptized with this baptism. But giving the left and right hand, sitting on my left and right hand are not mine to give. Think about this from the context of today. in your workplace. If you're working now, when you've worked in the past, you know that your leaders, your supervisors, your leaders have access to things that you potentially desire. I desire a promotion. It's my leadership that has access to those things that I desire. So on the one hand, we always say it, ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be given unto you. God tells us to ask, to seek, and to knock. So the request, quite honestly, if you think about it, it is a novel request, wrong-headed in some ways, but think about how Jesus responds to this request. I believe he responds differently than many of us have preached it. I know differently than the way I have preached it in the past. Most times when I have preached this message, I preached it as if James and John were wrong. But as I think about it, we've been taught to ask, we've been taught to seek, we've been taught to knock, and Jesus didn't beat them up about the request. He just asked them, he told them first, you really don't understand what you're asking me. Then he asked them, are you willing to do these things to get what you're asking for? They said they were able to do it. He told them, basically, good thing you believe you can, because you're absolutely going to have to. You're going to have to drink from the cup. You're going to have to be baptized with the same baptism that I've been baptized with. It's coming. But what you're asking me, it is not mine to give you. So I don't want to set you up. And here's one of the lessons from the leader's perspective. Do not promise people things you do not have the power to give. And a lot of times we will do that thinking that if we can dangle certain carrots before people, that it will keep them there. But ultimately, you will be found out that you do not have the power to give what you're promising. Jesus does. He tells them, listen, I do not want to mislead you. You're going to have to do what I asked you. Can you drink from the cup? Can you be baptized with the baptism? Good thing you believe you can, because you absolutely will. But what you're asking me to give you, it is not in my power to give you. And then the other 10 find out. They beat them to the punch. They got there, and I wonder, because these are 12 men who, quite honestly, are serving God himself. They're serving at the highest levels. I believe there's probably a certain level of competition in the group. There's a certain level of desires to succeed at the highest levels in the group. There is a desire to please God in the group. And so they hear that these men asked this question, and they were displeased with James and John. They were upset with them. Now, we don't know why they were upset. They may have been upset. I can't believe you asked that question. Why do you think you're better than the rest of us? Or why would you try to set yourself up higher than the rest of us? Or I was thinking of that too. And I would love to be on his left and his right hand too. We don't know what the level of displeasure was, but what we know is that the other 10 were not happy about the request that these two had made before Jesus. And so I believe when the Bible tells us in verse 41 that when the other 10 heard of it, they began to be greatly displeased with James and John. There's a lot that we can unpack in that one verse. I wonder if an argument broke out. I wonder if some heated discussions happened between the 10 and the 2, asking some of the questions that I asked very earlier when I said, when they heard it. They were upset about it for a reason. They were upset with the two for the question that they asked. Maybe they were upset because they didn't ask it first. Maybe they were upset because who do you think you are? Do you all think you're better than us? We don't know the main reason, but what we know is it created an issue in the group. Jesus is a witness to this issue, and he calls them all to him. Not once yet have we heard Jesus chastise James and John, because I don't believe the desire to serve at the level that they're asking to serve is bad. Now, sitting at the left and right hands, not the way to go about it. That is about ambition. But what he's telling them is that what you're asking requires a level of service that I want you to aspire to. And he wants the rest of them to aspire to it too. How do I know? I know because of what he tells them all next. In verse 42, Jesus calls them and says to them, you know that in the world, is what he's saying, you know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles, they lord it over them. And their great ones exercise authority over them. You know, based on how you've always seen servanthood work in your lifetimes, those who are considered rulers, those who are considered great, either exercise authority or lord themselves over the others. Look around the world of the day. Look at the kings. Look at the princes. Look at the lords. Look at all of those higher level positions in the world's kingdoms. And what you find are people sitting on their thrones being carried around. People sitting on their thrones being fanned by others. People sitting on the throne being fed by others. People sitting on the thrones being served by everyone else around them. That's what you know. But it shall not be so among you.